Hi guys, my name is Bonnie. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about the situation of the phone in jail. Okay? No, not in jail, in police station. In jail, we've seen across South Africa that people do get to have phones while they are sitting in jail and be phoning the outside world. Okay? That we cannot run away from. However, in a police station, please. In a police station, please. Even if but you are a hardcore criminal, not in a police station unless a police officer gave it to you. Okay. Let me say this very slowly, of course, because apparently some people need it in capital letters for it to clock in there. Okay. The state wants us to believe that a high profile murder suspect moved between multiple police stations, searched by multiple police officers in different police stations, okay? Logged in multiple SAPS registers, somehow kept a Samsung J5 cell phone. Please don't insult our intelligence. Hidden in police custody for an extended period of time for at least plus minus 8 months. June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, because Ntanzi went in, they say it was discovered in March, right? March or February, but plus minus 10 months, guys. This person was moving around different police stations, multiple police stations for crying out loud. Okay. And not just kept it, used it, bought airtime, connected to towers, and left behind a digital footprint clean enough to be used in court. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not evidence. This is fantasy fiction. Because what the hell? What the hell? Why would we be put into such a situation by Ubaloi Nokinita? Are they nuts? Do they think we are crazy? Really now? Oh, come on, man. Now, let's talk about how police cells actually work because we were told. Let's start with the reality, not courtroom storytelling of Baloi. Okay? Every police station under the South African Police Services has an officer on duty. Shifts 6 to 6, yes. Morning to evening, evening to morning. We know this. And every single shift change triggers a mandatory handover. Not optional, not flexible, mandatory. Okay? That handover includes a prisoner head count, a cell inspection, and most importantly, SAP 22, the prisoner property register. Every item found on every prisoner is written down. Belts, shoelaces, coins, cigarettes, rings, phones, everything. Do you hear me? Everything. And when the new ODC signs that register, they sign personal responsibility. If something happens later that wasn't recorded, someone's career ends. Period. Period. Okay? Now, the problem that we have here, the impossibility problem that we have, okay? Now, add that context the state wants you to ignore. This was a high-profile case, a serious violent offense, a suspect often kept alone, transported in handcuffs by police, moved between multiple police stations, searched on arrest, on booking, on cell entry, on shift change, before transport, after transport, before court, after court, for the state's version to be true. Every single one of those safeguards failed. Okay? Every officer missed the phone. Every register ignored the phone. Every handover overlooked the phone. Every search somehow missed the phone across multiple police stations. That's not unlikely, guys. That's institutionally impossible. It is way too impossible. Now, the miracle Samsung J5, let's talk about it quickly. Now, let's talk about this phone, the Samsung Galaxy J5. Anyone who has ever owned one knows weak battery life, needs frequent charging, no magical endurance. Yet somehow this phone survived custody for plus minus 10 months, avoid detection, avoids confiscation, connects to towers, produces usable call data. No charger, no record, no seizure, no PIN request, no chain of custody. This phone does not run on electrical. It runs on imagination of Baloyi and Gelinda. At this point, it's not a phone, it's an octopus, Gesan. Because what? Telling me what? It's working with internet everywhere. With internet everywhere in the cells, Gesan. At hostels, at universities, at churches, it's everywhere. It's going everywhere, Sana. A holy phone powered by faith, get this one. If you ask me, a holy phone powered by faith, because, excuse me, 10 months, where was it charging? Where was it charging, Gesan? Nah? And then there is also the airtime contradictions. Now pay attention. This is where the state collapses. First, they say airtime was bought directly from Vodacom. Then they say, no, it was bought using banking app. Then they say, we see through pattern matching. That's not clarification. That's retreat. Oh, and also they say, oh, we see here that there's an USSD that you bought airtime. Because all those four are different evidence streams, Gesan. Bank app airtime purchases leaves banking app logs, account holder details, verified timestamps. Direct network purchases leave network side records, retail or USSD logs. Pattern matching is what you say when you don't have primary evidence. Courts don't convict on patterns, they convict on proof. Now, the question they never answered, here's the question that destroys everything. Why didn't police ask the phone pins or pattern? Because the moment you are arrested, your phone is seized, logged, bagged, given to investigating officer, access credentials are requested. If this phone existed in custody, who logged it? Who authorized it? Who accessed it? Where is the SEP22 entry? Where is the chain of custody? There's none, Gesan, for your information. That's not a gap. That's a crater at its best. Oh, okay. Sisa Jongeleyo, AVL data versus fairy tales, Gesan. Now compare this to AVL vehicle tracking data. Every time AVL evidence appears, it supports the accused movements. It aligns with the objectives records. And every time that happens, the state suddenly pivots back to the magic phone because AVL doesn't lie. Phones can be invented, but AVL, it tells a different story. Now, let's talk about beyond reasonable doubt, okay? To believe the state, the court must accept that SEP's procedures failed universally. The court must also accept that documentation failed universally. Court must also accept supervision failed universally. Court must also accept accountability vanished. Court also must accept that one phone survived it all. That is not beyond reasonable doubt. That is reasonable. That is beyond reasonable belief, guys. That is beyond reasonable belief. I don't care what Baloyi says. This is nonsense. If this case was strong, we wouldn't be debating a Samsung J5 like it's a supernatural artifact. Never. We were not going to do that. This case survives on assumptions, inference, and hope. And hope is not evidence. Please, how? Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts when it comes to this? Let's talk in the comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. And I will see you on our next video. Bye-bye.